Ben, I'm so sorry to bother you again. I need $50 for formula. His is almost gone. I'll pay you back, please. Mara's fingers trembled as she hit send. She set the phone down, buried her head in her knees, and waited. 5 minutes later, her phone screen lit up with a sharp ping. A message appeared. I think you have the wrong number. Mara jolted, snatching up her phone. Her heart plummeted as she realized she'd sent her desperate plea to a complete stranger. Her palms grew sweaty, and her fumbling fingers began to type an apology, when another notification suddenly popped up beneath it. Wu Tsen Meiyuan. Mara froze, stunned. She rubbed her eyes, then blinked again, hardly believing what she was seeing. With trembling hands, she opened her banking app. The number was there, stark, cold, and undeniable. $5,000. Another message from the strange number appeared. Is your child okay? The money is yours. No strings attached. Just one less thing for you to worry about. Mira stared at the words. The lie she was told when she was fired hadn't made her cry. The humiliation of having her car repossessed hadn't made her cry. Even the despair when Noah's father vanished without a word hadn't drawn a single tear. But this sudden, inexplicable kindness, this did. The tears she'd held back for so long finally broke free. Her hands shaking, she typed a reply. Thank you. I honestly don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. The response came back almost instantly. Just take good care of Noah. Noah. The name hit her like a thunderclap. Mara froze, rereading the message. Take good care of Noah. Her breath hitched in her throat. She had never told this stranger her son's name. That single thought lodged itself in her mind, and sleep refused to come. Even as Noah slept soundly beside her, his belly full and his breathing even and peaceful, she lay wide awake. She sat on the edge of the bed, the phone feeling impossibly heavy in her palm, its screen casting a pale, questioning light onto her face. On the other side of the city, Jackson Albright leaned back in a leather chair that had never felt comfortable, not since the tragedy. A familiar ache tightened in his chest, and he quickly shoved it aside, his gaze shifting to the window. Just then, the phone on his desk buzzed softly. It was her. Why would you help someone like me? You don't even know me. He stared at the words longer than he needed to. Most people who texted him wanted something: partnerships, investments, favors, sometimes influence. This was the first time in a long time someone had genuinely asked why he cared. So, he told her the truth, or at least a part of it, because once, someone helped me when they didn't have to. I've never forgotten that. After a pause, another message appeared. Well then, I want to pay you back. One of Jackson's eyebrows arched, a rare smile almost ghosting across his lips. He typed his reply, curiosity beginning to stir. Pay me back for what? Her answer came almost immediately. For the formula money, and for your kindness. Another pause. I'll find a way. The next morning, Mira wasn't woken by Noah's cries, but by an unfamiliar sound, a knock on the door. Her heart tightened. In this apartment complex, no one knocked. The landlord texted. Her neighbors didn't even make eye contact. A vague fear crept in. She quickly threw on a hoodie, held her breath, and tiptoed to the door, squinting through the peephole. A delivery man in a neat uniform stood there, flanked by 4 massive boxes. A whirlwind of questions spun in her head. Cautiously, she opened the door a crack. Delivery for Mira Jensen, he asked. Mira nodded silently, taking the device to sign. With trembling hands, she dragged each box into the middle of her living room. Inside was everything she could have ever dreamed of for Noah. Formula, diapers, wipes, high-end bottles, organic baby food pouches, and clothes. This wasn't no-name, discount bin stuff. It was the kind of luxury gear you only saw on the feeds of picture-perfect moms. At the bottom of the last box, there was a small envelope. Inside, a handwritten card. He deserves the best, not just to get by. Take care of Noah. Jackson. No logo, no return address, Not a single clue to its origin, just a name from a man she had never met. A strange warmth spread through her chest, a chaotic mix of gratitude and profound suspicion. Who was this man, really? And what did he truly want? For hours, Mira couldn't bring herself to touch the boxes. They sat there like a dream she was afraid of waking from. Noah was sound asleep in her arms after a full bottle, the first one he'd had in days. She just sat there, watching the steady rise and fall of his tiny chest, and wondered what kind of world she had just stepped into. She wasn't naive. People don't do things like this for no reason. But there were no cameras, no viral videos, just silence and the tangible gifts. And then there was that name, Jackson. With a trembling hand, she picked up her phone and opened the web browser. She had to know. She typed Jackson Albright into the search bar. The results appeared almost instantly, line after line of text. Jackson Albright, CEO of Helix Core Industries. Net worth, $11.8 billion. This wasn't just a generous stranger. He was a tech tycoon, a recluse the media called the ghost of the valley. There were only a few official photos of him online, all of them cold and severe. So why would someone like that send her $5,000 in baby supplies? She typed, hesitated, then hit send. Why are you really doing this? I don't want your pity. He didn't reply right away. She waited 10 minutes, then 20, her heart sinking. Maybe he'd had second thoughts. Maybe he'd realized she wasn't worth it. Mira leaned her head against the cool wall. Just as her mind began to spiral, the screen lit up again. A new message from Jackson. Are you working? The question was blunt, without preamble, a punch to the gut of her reality. Her bruised pride made her want to ignore him, but another part of her compelled her to answer. I was, she typed, the words dripping with bitterness. Until Noah. Until my company went under. And until the only daycare I could afford shut down. So, no, not anymore. His reply was almost immediate, efficient, and decisive. What was your field? Biochemical research. Specializing in diagnostics, she replied, almost by reflex. I interned at Novagon before things got complicated. A short pause. Then he texted back, you were in research? Yes. But now I also know how to scrub a toilet, make coffee, and calculate taxes I'll never be able to afford. She didn't expect a reply. She thought her sarcasm would end the conversation. But once again, he surprised her. Be at Helix Core tomorrow, 11 a.m. Ask for Ava, no strings, just a conversation. Mira read the words over and over. Helix Core, his company. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Are you offering me a job? The reply that came back carried a different kind of weight. I'm not giving you a job. I'm giving you an opportunity to earn one. Stepping through the revolving glass doors of the skyscraper, Mira felt like she had entered another universe. She hadn't set foot in a place like this in nearly 2 years. Clutching the handle of Noah's carrier, she approached the front desk. Hi, I'm Mira Jensen. I have an appointment with Ava. The receptionist looked up, and her face lit up with immediate recognition. Ah, Miss Jensen, we've been expecting you. Please head up to the 37th floor. Miss Lin will meet you at the elevators. Expecting me, Mira thought, a sliver of unease creeping in. By the time the elevator doors opened on the top floor, her heart was pounding. An elegant woman with sleek black hair and a professional smile greeted her. Mira, I'm Ava Lin, Mr. Albright's chief of staff. He's in a meeting, but he asked me to show you around. I'm not sure what this is, Mira stammered as she followed Ava down glass-walled hallways. This whole thing is just unbelievable. Ava smiled. Mr. Albright doesn't do jokes. He does efficiency. They stopped in front of a door. Ava opened it and said, he wanted you to see this first. Inside wasn't an office. It was a fully, thoughtfully equipped nursery, a beautiful crib, a changing table, a soft playmat, even blackout curtains. Mira gasped. her hand flying to her mouth. This room wasn't just thrown together, it was made with real care. She turned to Ava, her voice trembling. "Why?" Ava looked her straight in the eye. "Because he knows what it's like to fight alone." 20 minutes later, Mera was sitting in a small conference room with a cup of coffee in front of her and Noah sleeping soundly beside her. The door opened softly and Jackson Albright walked in. In person, he was more real than his online photos. Still tall, poised, and powerful, but his eyes held a hint of weariness, and a subtle 5 o'clock shadow suggested a real man, one who had built empires but had perhaps forgotten how to smile. "Mera," he said, his voice low and steady, "thank you for coming." "I wasn't sure I should," she mumbled, awkwardly getting to her feet. "But you did. That's what matters." He sat across from her, placing his hands on the table. "Before we talk about anything, I want to be clear. You owe me nothing. This isn't a test, and I'm not here to save you. I don't believe in charity. I believe in investing in people." "Why me?" Mera looked directly at him, the question tumbling out almost instantly. Jackson was quiet for a moment, then his gaze sharpened. "Because I saw someone who didn't demand, didn't expect, and was willing to go without before she let her child suffer. Someone like that, I can trust." A lump formed in Mera's throat. He slid a folder across the table toward her. "Temporary position, 3 months, finance department, flexible hours, above average pay. If it's not a fit, you can walk away any time, no questions asked." Mera opened the folder. The number on the offer line made her blink twice. It was more than she had made in 6 months at her old job. She looked up at him, her voice thick with disbelief. "This is real." "It's real." "And the nursery?" For the first time, an almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. "That's real too." For a moment, a silent understanding filled the room. Finally, Mera took a deep breath and gave a firm nod. "I'm in." The new job felt like a fresh start. She was tasked with auditing the CEO's personal transactions, a job that demanded meticulous care and absolute trust. With Noah sleeping peacefully in the nursery next door, she lost herself in the numbers and command lines on the screen. Everything was going smoothly until she came across a transaction the system had flagged irregular. It was a $5,000 transfer from Jackson's personal account. The irregularity wasn't the amount, but the memo attached. Instead of dry transaction codes, it contained a log of text messages, a conversation between Jackson and an unknown number. Mera's heart skipped a beat. Curious, she opened the transaction log. The first text from the stranger appeared. "She's too proud. She'll never take help from me." An icy chill shot down Mera's spine. She read on, her eyes glued to the screen, as Jackson replied, "You can't trade pride for formula. What does the boy need?" The stranger answered, "Formula. Diapers. Everything. She's at her breaking point. I just wish I could do more." Each word was a needle prick to her pride. Then she read Jackson's question, the one that made her world begin to tilt. "Does she text you when she needs help? Let me be the stranger. Send me her number. Trust me." And then, a familiar name hit her, catching the breath in her throat. Jackson had asked about taking care of Noah. "Noah," Mera whispered, her voice trembling. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the insane thought forming in her mind. It can't be. It has to be a coincidence. But a coincidence couldn't explain the final text message from the stranger. "Jackson, I'm her brother. I trust you." Mera's world shattered. Her brother. With a shaking hand, she double-checked the phone number that had sent the messages. It was the new number her brother, Ben, had gotten last month. All the pieces suddenly slammed into place, creating a cruel and painful picture. Ben telling Jackson about her situation, the mistaken text she'd received, the $5,000, the job offer, the nursery. None of it was random. It was all part of a perfectly orchestrated plan, a charade set up by her own brother and the very billionaire she worked for. A charade designed to bypass the wall of pride that was the only thing she had left. Tears began to well up, blurring the words on the screen. She scrolled to the final entry in the log, a transfer order Jackson had sent to his assistant. Wire $5,000 to Mira Jensen. Mira broke into a sob, her hands flying to her mouth to stifle the sound. She whispered through the tears, each word a self-inflicted wound. To Mira. It was never for some other Mira. From the very beginning, it was for me. The kindness she had received wasn't a miracle. It was a lie, a well-intentioned one, perhaps, but a lie that left her feeling more exposed and wounded than ever before. After crying until she had no tears left, Mira wiped her face. The trembling in her had been replaced by a chilling calm. She no longer felt wounded. There was only a single, burning question left in her chest. She stood up, walked out of her office, and marched straight to the Chief of Staff's office. "Ava, I need to see Mr. Albright," she said, her voice flat but firm. Ava recognized something had shifted in Mira's puffy eyes, but she simply gave a professional nod. "Let me see." She spoke a few words into her intercom. "He says you can go in." Mira took a deep breath and pushed open the door to Jackson's world. He was sitting behind a massive desk and looked up as she entered. "Mira, is something wrong?" he asked, his voice still even. Without a word, she walked to his desk and placed her phone on the polished wood. The screen was still lit, displaying the entire conversation between him and Ben. Jackson glanced at the screen, then back up at her face. There was no surprise in his eyes, no flicker of panic, just a quiet acceptance. He had known this day would come. "Why?" Mira finally said, her voice cracking. "I'm asking why you two had to do it like this. Why did you have to make a fool of me in my own story?" She pointed at the screen. "All of this. The mistaken text, the job, the nursery for Noah. My brother and you turned me into a charity case. Do you have any idea what that does to a person's pride, no matter how good the intention?" Jackson rose, walked around his desk, and stood opposite her, maintaining a respectful distance. He didn't make excuses. He didn't look away. "Because Ben came to me," he began, his voice low and sincere. "He was desperate because he couldn't help his sister the way he wanted to. He knew you'd never accept money from him, and he also knew that what you truly needed wasn't a handout, but a chance." He looked directly into her eyes, his gaze full of understanding. "Ben said you were a brilliant researcher, but life hadn't given you a fair shot. He didn't want to be the one to give you that shot, because it would only make you feel indebted. So we created a stage, Mira, a stage for you to step onto based on your own merit. That mistaken text," he continued, "was just a ticket in the door. This job, this salary, it was all based on the portfolio Ben gave me. You didn't get it because of my pity. You got it because you earned it. We just wanted to create a path for you to walk on your own, not through charity, but on your own 2 feet. The sincerity in his voice softened Mira's anger, leaving only the ache behind. Jackson saw it. "I'm sorry," he said, and the apology held no pretense. "I'm sorry the plan hurt you. I should have found another way, a more transparent one. But I am not sorry for believing in you. From that first text, I saw a mother who would do anything for her child. And working with you, I've seen a strong, intelligent, and resilient employee. I have immense admiration for that." He paused, giving her a moment to process everything. "The plan may have started with a lie, but my respect and admiration for you are completely real." Mira stood silently, Jackson's explanation swirling in her mind. A part of her still screamed at the feeling of being deceived, of being manipulated like a puppet. But another part, the more pragmatic one, couldn't deny the results. Noah had formula. She had a job in her field, a fair salary, and a chance to reclaim her life. He was right. This wasn't charity. Charity was a gift. She, on the other hand, had worked, had proven herself every single day. They hadn't given her pity. They had simply torn down the barriers life had thrown in her way. The silence in Jackson's office was heavy. Mira stood there, the turmoil inside her slowly settling, leaving behind a complex truth. The lie was still there, like a scar, but she understood it was born from her brother's clumsy love and this man's unusual kindness. "I'll stay," Mira finally said, her voice steady again. She looked Jackson straight in the eye. "But on one condition." "Anything," he replied, without a moment's hesitation. "From now on, no more lies," she said, enunciating each word. "No secret plans, no hidden kindness, just the truth, no matter how hard it is to hear. I need to be trusted, not just as an employee, but as a person." A faint, sad smile touched Jackson's lips. "That's the fairest condition I've ever heard." He walked over to the window, gazing out at the distant skyline. "Then let me start with the truth. The reason I did it, it wasn't just because of Ben." He turned back, and for the first time, Mira saw a deep vulnerability in his eyes. "I had a daughter. She passed away when she was very young, from an illness that not even my technology could cure. When I saw your text, saw a mother's desperation for formula, I didn't see a stranger. I saw a chance to do the right thing, the thing I couldn't do for my own daughter." That raw confession shattered the last of Mira's defenses. The initial lie was now wrapped in a truth that was far more painful and human. She was no longer a charity case. She was an unexpected connection to his past. Their relationship changed in that instant. It was no longer boss and employee, or benefactor and recipient. It was rebuilt on a new foundation, one of respect for her strength and empathy for his pain. Mira accepted the job, not out of pity, but because she knew it was a real opportunity, one she had earned. 6 months passed. Mira's office no longer felt temporary. It was hers, with framed photos of a smiling Noah arranged neatly on her desk. She not only excelled at her job, but also brought strategic ideas that helped shape Helix Core's new ventures. One afternoon, Jackson walked in, not with the gravity of a CEO, but with the easy comfort of a friend. His eyes didn't go to her computer screen, but to a photo of Noah learning to walk. "He's growing up fast," he said, a warm smile clear on his face. "He's got a good teacher," Mira laughed, a nod to her brother. "Ready for the next meeting, partner?" Jackson asked, a sparkle in his eye. "Always," she replied with confidence. Together, they walked out of the office and toward the main conference room. Through the glass walls, the setting sun bathed the city in gold. They were no longer two lonely people from different worlds. They had become partners, in work and in life, looking toward the same horizon. The story didn't end with a fairy tale wedding, but with an image that was far more real and hopeful. Mira standing as Jackson's equal, not just an exceptional employee, but an integral part of the future they were building together.